So, the prodigal son has returned. It's taken, I'm going to do some maths now, 38 years, 37, 38 years for this story to return. And we're talking about issue 88 of Swamp Thing. This is the issue that was cancelled by DC. Rick Veitch, who was the ongoing writer at the time, writer-artist at the time, he basically threw his pen down and quit because they wanted to not use the story of Jesus, which is what caused the controversy. And initially on the cover was meant to look like this. So it got all the new. There's a really interesting 3-page account by Steve Bissett of what went on, and it's fascinating reading. And basically, what it was, because Batman the film was coming out at the time, um, all eyes were on Warner Brothers, and obviously DC are part of Warner Brothers, and so every comic that was out was under scrutiny by reporters and that lot. And word got out what this story was going to be, and obviously everybody likes a scandal, so they conflagrated it. They inflated what the story was actually about. You know, they made it that's going to be the ultimate blasphemy, because the Last Temptation of Christ had just come out as well. So there's all that controversy going around at the time, and obviously America is very, very pro right-wing evangelical churches, so they've got a lot of power. So yeah, so Rick Veitch, and as well, that was the time when he started introducing ratings to comics, like he suggested for mature readers. And Rick Veitch, Alan Moore, and a bunch of other writers and artists were against that, and they basically en masse just left DC. And so yeah, he went to do just creator own stuff for quite a while, and he did return eventually. Did Our Armies That Love, but I'm a big Rick Veitch fan. I've followed him since the 80s when he did some stuff in Eclipse. He did a short story collection. I think him and Steve Bissett did some stuff together as well called Bedlam. And he also did a series called Maximosa, which I've got in book form now, and another series called The One, which came out from Epic. And I can't remember which one. One of them also had these really weird peanut strips in called Fuzz Bundles, which I adored. It was just like a fever dream. And he did stuff for Epic Illustrated called Abraxas and the Earthman and Heartburst. So I've always, and he did 1941, the graphic novel adaptation of the film. So I've always loved him, and I really enjoyed the Swamp Thing story. So yeah, I've been counting down the days to get this, so counting down the years, and now it's out. How do I feel? Oh, by the way, the cover's changed now. It's now this Swamp Thing with a lamb. Uh, I feel fine. I don't. But what is funny is I don't. I think if they'd have just released it, there wouldn't have been an out. People would have read it for, oh, is that it? In a way, it's a loving tribute to Jesus. I come from a very evangelical background, um, of course, and so I put my church head on, what I used to, obviously, how my old brainwashed church head, and yeah, if I'd have read it then as a born again Christian, evangelical Christian, I wouldn't have found anything offensive. There's nothing of Jesus was in just for a few pages. It dealt more with the people who were trying to overturn Jesus and trying to um, brand him a heretic, and it dealt with Mary Magdalene, the prostitute, and things like that. So it dealt more like the supporting cast. It was fascinating reading, but it brought back memories of the story. It was this timeline story where he was going through different periods of history. I can't remember the reason why, and it's really enjoyable. It's got Michael Zulli artwork, and I adore Michael Zulli. And as I said, Rick Veitch wrote a really loving story about Jesus. There's nothing objectionable about it. I've read much worse. I've seen much worse. Life of Brian's much worse. But yeah, so as an ex-Christian, thinking about what I would have thought about it back then, because I was a die-hard born-again Christian back then. I was objectionable with it, but I was still a comic reader. I wouldn't have found anything offensive about it. Like I said, it was a really sweet, loving tribute, and it also hammered home the fact it did a loving tribute of the crucifixion. It hammered home the fact that he died for sins that he hadn't committed. So yeah, it was good. I have got the first collection of Rick Veitch's Swamp Thing, but I'm tempted to get the comics again. I've seen a dealer on eBay selling sets of the Rick Veitch run, so I might get them because I want to refresh my memory of this storyline, which hasn't been collected yet. So yeah, really really enjoyed it. What mark would it? The mark I would give it. It's hard to say. You, depending on who you are, you get different things from it. For me, it's a comic I've been waiting for a long time, so it means more to me. It's a character who I've mentioned before. I hold very, very dear. I love and adore Swamp Thing, and it's by a creator who I hold in very high esteem. And it was a storyline I was really enjoying. So for me, I'm biased, so I'd give it a 9 out of 10. If you're coming at it blind or you didn't follow, let's say you're not a big fan of Rick Veitch, I think you give it about 7. But for me, 9 out of 10. If you're, like I said, a lover of any of those elements what I mentioned, I think you come out with the same take as me. But yeah, really enjoyed it. Getting the other issues to round it off, and like I said, I'm very, very tempted. I've gone crazy this past week with buying stuff. Very, very tempted to get the issues because I don't know if I can wait for the collections. So that's a good sign. Not for me, but the power of the story and refreshing um, my memory about what I enjoyed about the story. So yeah. So like I said, if you like the elements I mentioned, go and buy it. If you don't, buy it if for maybe a quirk of interest kind of thing, of intrigue. But yeah, I wouldn't say go out to rush out and buy it if you're not a big fan like I am of the people or the character, etc. Okay, bye.